And then the idea, or I will ask once again, what kind of data would we need, or what do you think, what kind of variable is important and will affect the number of iPhones we will sell for a particular country?
Income distribution.
Very good. Income. Any other ideas? Yeah.
The standard of living.
Yeah, could be also. Yeah.
Maybe here also like taxes on consumer goods.
Okay, nice. Do you see any correlation?
Money. Money and correlations. Income.
Yeah.
Standard of living and tax. So affects the money.
Yeah, of course. You could say that the quantity is expressed by money, of course, but it doesn't have to be that we have a correlation. That is
the price of the iPhone.
Yeah. Okay, the price would be, of course, yeah, I guess, fact.
Also fashion trends.
Yeah. But I don't think we will have a problem with the correlation between a tax on products. You mean by that VAT, value-added tax. So I wouldn't expect that we have a correlation between a value-added tax rate in a country and the income in a country, because we have, for example, in Eastern European countries we have a higher VAT rate than, for example, in Luxembourg or Germany. But on the other hand, we have also relatively high VAT rates in Sweden, Norway, and so on. So there is no really clear correlation. But
there's also inflation.
Inflation, yeah. But your first guess?
Fashion trends.
First guess was?
Standards of living.
Income. Same.
Yeah, it's maybe not the same, but it's very close to each other. And if I would use two variables, I could have a problem because I try to explain by actually similar, or by the same, let's say, by the same variable or any other variable. Yeah? And with this variable, I wouldn't have any problem. I would indeed take it. However, with standard of living, so the question would be, what is the proxy for that?
Sorry?
Proxy is because in a regression or any data analysis, you need a quantification of your variable. So VAT rate, clear. Income, aggregated or disaggregated, but it's clear a number in euros or a portion of GDP. A standard of living would be?
Health plus, I don't know, health and
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure, yeah. And once again, what would be the proxy for the infrastructure?
Healthcare, education,
What is the proxy for healthcare?
knowledge.
I hope by that exercise you will understand. I mean by that the whole group. What is a proxy? Proxy is a number. It's at the end a quantification of your variable. I could, for example, have in mind any correlation between two things, and I don't know how to quantify this thing. So I need a proxy for that.
High, medium, and low.
And so, proxy, for example, for the standard of living would be income. I could say, okay, the income is actually strongly correlated with the standard of living. The standard of living is not a number. Income is a number. I can express income in a number, yeah, using a number. Expenses, standard of living, consumption expenses, okay? And once again, consumption expenses, I would have in euro or any other currency, and income. In this case, once again, I would expect some correlation. How to deal with that? You could, for your regression, you could use so-called interaction. So in this case, you would multiply your income with consumption, and would observe whether there is some coefficient which is significant, and or the other way is to drop out a variable, income or consumption, So please be careful using different or a number of different variables. But still, of course, it's very sensible, and you should go for it because it's a significant improvement of a model. So, how to run a multiple regression in Excel? It's still possible, yeah. However, here once again, a weakness of Excel is that you can still pick up your Y range, but for X you have indeed select columns, and these columns they have to stick to each other. Okay, so please remember it. Yeah, and the exercise for you is to create additional values. So variables, not values. So you have up to now you have a structural line, country. Then you have your year, yeah. And you have FDI, right? And then you have your tax rate. Now it could be that we don't have further variables, but still we have something in the model we should use because up to now we just used only 1 year. And if we would put the whole observation we have, and the question would be, okay, are you sure that there is no significant difference between 2013 and 2014, and maybe 2015, and 2016, and 2017? I guess you would answer, yeah, there is for sure some difference, but I don't know how to express it as a proxy, for example. Yeah. So you could go for a variable that you would use in order to somehow to control for these differences in the year. For example, you would use GDP or population or consumption or income, inflation, and so on. Okay. Of course, you could do it, but even taking 20 variables for economic development, you wouldn't be still sure that you check the whole possible differences between 2 years. Yeah, and that's why it's a very, very nice approach for it. It's the so-called fixed effect. So there is a fixed effect. You don't know how to describe this effect, but you know there is a difference between a country A and country B. You know that there is some difference between year 1 and year 2. And how do we solve this problem? Using fixed effect model, you just use dummy variables. Dummy variables, they take on values. Question? You? No, the other way around.
Can you repeat? Sorry.
Two values for dummy variables are
In this case, or
general. Do you know dummy variable is a
it's
yeah?
like, for example, my cases, I mean, my example may be not that related.
Yeah.
For example, my bachelor's is about the employee ownership.
Yeah.
Ownership, and in like choosing this one or not choosing this one, that is the one very specific one dummy variable.
Very good. So how many outcomes do you have for your variable?
I also use the fixed effect.
No, but I mean, how many outcomes do you have for your variable? Because
one, like 1, 2, like 0 and
Only.
1 and 2.
that's the answer. So dummy variables, they have only 2 values, 0 or 1. It's a binary variable, and this is a good example. So dummy variable is, of course, by that much weaker than a variable like tax rate, because tax rate can have a much more outcomes, right? And dummy variable is an important one, but still it's a variable where you can, when you have a problem with only 2 outcomes. It's now, of course, very attractive and very sexy and very actual if you would, for example, consider the whole gender research. because in this case, my argument is it's nothing new. So for years, if you had this information, whether you